the Old West, a land of legends. We tell stories of lawmen and outlaws, of high noon showdowns and epic shootouts. We're captivated by the grit, the glory, the gunsmoke. We remember names like Billy the Kid, Jesse James, Wyatt Earp. We believe the frontier was won with a six-shooter and a steady hand. But the truth is, the frontier was conquered by something far more dangerous than a gun. It was a silent, invisible enemy that lurked in the dust, the water, and the air. It was dysentery, cholera, typhoid fever, diseases that killed more people than all the outlaws combined. The real heroes and victims weren't the ones in gunfights, but the ordinary families who faced down a silent killer.
Meet Elijah Eli Reed. He's not a legendary gunslinger, but a stoic wagon driver and a family man, the very heart of the West's resilience. He's a man who has faced down storms and bandits, a man of quiet strength. We find him on a long, arduous journey across the plains with his wife, Sarah, and their young daughter, Lily. They're on their way to a new life, a new beginning, a dream built on hope and hard work. But that hope is about to be tested. Inside the rattling wagon, the air is thick with a different kind of tension. It's not the threat of an ambush, but the quiet, dawning dread of a parent. Sarah is tenderly wiping the forehead of their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who lies curled up, her face flushed and slick with sweat. "She feels so warm, Eli," Sarah says, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe we should stop." Eli's face, weathered and tanned by the sun, doesn't betray his fear. He offers a small, forced smile, a gesture of reassurance he doesn't fully feel. "It's just a travel sickness, Sarah. She'll be all right. Just a little fever from the long road." But even as he speaks the words, he knows they're hollow. His grip on the reins tightens as he urges the horses faster, the rhythm of the journey now a frantic race against an unseen foe. This journey isn't about gold or land. It is about a little girl, a silent fever, and the brutal truth that on the American frontier, your biggest enemy was often the one you couldn't see. Eli's initial hope that Lily's fever was just a minor inconvenience quickly vanished. The miles stretched into an endless blur of sun-baked plains and dust, and with each passing day Lily's condition worsened. The small, optimistic family of 3 was now trapped in a harrowing race against time. The landscape, once a symbol of freedom, became a desolate, unforgiving backdrop to their despair. Their journey wasn't marked by daring encounters with bandits or standoffs with rival pioneers, but by the relentless, grinding reality of illness. Every night, Sarah would boil water from the dwindling canteens, using it to create feeble compresses for Lily's burning forehead. Eli, a man who prided himself on his strength and self-reliance, found himself utterly powerless. He couldn't fight this enemy. There was no one to aim a pistol at, no challenge to meet with his fists. The silence of the plains was broken only by the sound of his daughter's labored breathing and the quiet sobs of his wife. At a small, makeshift settlement, Eli was presented with a crossroads. He was approached by a man named Silas, a well-dressed representative for a railroad company, who offered him a high-paying job, delivering a crucial shipment of supplies. "Enough money to buy a house, Eli," Silas promised, his voice slick and persuasive. The lure of stability was immense. It was everything Eli had been working toward, the final piece of the puzzle for a secure future. He hesitated, looking from the man to the wagon where his sick daughter lay. Just as he was about to accept, a piercing, heart-wrenching wail came from the wagon. Lily's fever had spiked. She thrashed weakly, her small body convulsing. In that moment, the choice became terrifyingly clear. The dreams of a new home, the promise of a comfortable future, it all faded into irrelevance. He looked Silas dead in the eye, his voice low and firm. "I can't. My daughter's sick. I need a doctor." Silas, a man of business, simply shrugged. "The nearest doctor's a week's ride away. You'll lose the job, Eli. This is a one-time offer." Eli's decision was immediate and final. He turned his back on the offer, leaving Silas and the promise of a secure life behind. The only thing that mattered was his daughter. He began to ride even faster, pushing his horses to their limit. But the harsh reality of the frontier was a bitter teacher. The lack of proper medicine, the absence of clean water, the sheer isolation of the journey, it all worked against him. The narrative shifts to Eli's desperate search for help. He encounters a series of people along the trail, each one a stark reminder of the widespread suffering caused by unseen forces. He meets a young widow burying her husband, who whispers that he just got tired before succumbing to the sickness. He meets a group of miners who share stories of entire camps being decimated by consumption. He saw not a land of endless opportunity, but a battlefield littered with silent casualties. This wasn't a romantic frontier, it was a brutal, unforgiving proving ground. The climax of the journey arrived without fanfare. A sudden, violent thunderstorm erupted, a chaotic symphony of wind and rain that mirrored the turmoil inside the wagon. The flimsy canvas roof threatened to tear away as lightning cracked across the sky. The horses panicked, and Eli fought desperately to keep the wagon from capsizing in the muddy torrent. Inside, Sarah held Lily tight, singing a shaky lullaby over the sound of the storm. As the storm rages, an old, grizzled man, a hermit who has been living alone in a secluded cabin, stumbles upon their struggling wagon. His face is a roadmap of a hard life, etched with loss and pain. He helps Eli secure the wagon and pulls them into the relative safety of his small cabin. He looks at Lily and his eyes fill with a profound sadness. "I know this sickness," he says, his voice raspy. "It took my whole family. My wife, my boy, consumption. I know the look in your eyes." He hands Eli a pouch filled with dried herbs and roots. "I ain't no doctor, but I learned a thing or two from the native tribes. Boil these in water. It won't fix her, but it might just give her a fighting chance." Eli, a man of reason and logic, would have scoffed at such a remedy under normal circumstances. But with his daughter on the brink, he had no choice. He boiled the herbs, the strange, earthy scent filling the cabin. He gave the concoction to Lily, his hands trembling. The old man, whose name we never learn, quietly watches, a silent, knowing figure of shared sorrow. The night is long and filled with a suffocating tension. The storm outside eventually subsides, but the one inside the cabin rages on. Eli and Sarah sit vigil, their hands clasped, their eyes fixed on their daughter. This wasn't a battle of strength or skill. It was a battle of faith, of hope, and of a parent's love against the most ancient and formidable enemy of all. The morning light crept through the small window of the cabin, painting the dirt floor in pale gold. The storm had passed, leaving behind a profound, almost sacred silence. Eli, his eyes red from lack of sleep, reached for Lily. He braced himself, expecting the worst. But as his hand touched her forehead, he felt it, the heat was gone. Her breathing was steady, a gentle, rhythmic hum. She was weak, exhausted, but alive. It wasn't a dramatic, triumphant moment of heroism. It was a quiet, tearful sigh of relief, a raw, emotional release. The battle wasn't won with a bang, but with a whisper. The old man, who had watched them all night, simply nodded. "She's a fighter," he said, his voice softer now. "Just like her mama and papa." He didn't ask for thanks and was gone by the time they left. The family continued their journey, but the world looked different to them. The romanticized Wild West was gone, replaced by the somber reality of its challenges. Eli looked at the other settlers not as rivals or partners, but as survivors of a silent war. He realized that a true conqueror on the frontier wasn't defined by how many people they killed, but by how many they saved, and the most dangerous enemy was always unseen. The final shot is a slow zoom out as Eli's wagon continues its journey toward the horizon. The vast, empty landscape now feels less like a place for adventure and more like a testament to human resilience. The narrator's voice returns, tying Eli's personal story back to the overarching theme. The frontier was indeed conquered, but not by the legendary figures of Western lore. It was conquered by the resilience of ordinary people like Eli and Sarah, who faced down the real, invisible killers of the era. Their story, and the stories of countless others like them, prove that the true spirit of the Old West wasn't found in the flash of a gun, but in the quiet, desperate struggle for life itself. The frontier wasn't won by bullets, it was won by those who survived the fever. This is just one story from a history far richer and more complex than we've been told. If you were moved by Eli's journey and want to hear more tales of the true grit and resilience of the American pioneers, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Let us know in the comments which part of history you'd like us to explore next. Thanks for watching.